How's it going, everybody? This is Dominic Minchella. I am the Kansas City Chiefs beat writer for On SI and the host of the Kansas City Chiefs Insider Podcast. Thank you guys so much for stopping in today. I hope you guys are doing well as we continue to talk about training camp topics for the Kansas City Chiefs. As we know, the Kansas City Chiefs will be taking on the Arizona Cardinals on Saturday, August 9th, for their first preseason game. And I mentioned that because that is going to be the topic of interest today for today's podcast. And more so, as we've seen, the depth chart has been released for the Kansas City Chiefs and their preseason matchup. But going into this game, and while I know that it is just the first preseason game, there's a lot riding on it for two rookies in the Kansas City Chiefs system. So we're going to be talking about that today. So buckle up, grab your popcorn, and be sure to follow me over on X at Dom Minchella, where I post and repost every single day. You're not going to want to miss any coverage of the Kansas City Chiefs as we get closer and closer to the regular season. But without further ado, let's talk about the two biggest rookies who are looking to have a big first preseason game with the Chiefs. First off, I do just want to say that it is a big game for all of these rookies. They are all facing off against professionals for the first time in their career that aren't on the same roster as them. So, it could come with some intimidation. However, they know exactly what they have to do in order to get themselves ready for the regular season. And this is a great way to start. So, the first guy that I want to talk about is the first-round draft pick for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's Josh Simmons. Now, as we know, we've heard a lot this training camp from both head coach Andy Reid and a majority of the offensive players for the Chiefs that Josh Simmons, he's a dog, man. He is looking great out there. A guy who was almost left out of the first round of the NFL draft due to his left patellar injury in his knee. He looks like $1 million that we've seen thus far. He's aggressive. He's competitive. He's out there early. He's gotten defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo and company to say, wow, this is a guy that I'm happy that he's on our team, that we don't have to go up against him. We've seen a lot of the rookie rivalry, as people like to call it, between him and Ashton Gelati. There's the fire and the will to be great out of Josh Simmons. And I think that going into this game up against the Cardinals is going to be a great stepping stone to see whether or not he is ready for the starting left tackle role or it should go to someone else. Now, I say if it should go to someone else, that's obviously a what-if scenario. There's been a lot of movement, and as we've talked about on the podcast before, it is likely that Josh Simmons will be the starting left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs come week 1 against the Los Angeles Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. However, there is a world, though, where from now until then, that, God forbid, his knee injury starts to act up again, or he doesn't show a strong progression against another NFL franchise, which could element Jalen Moore, the free agent signing, who has earned the most money this free agent signing period for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's still kind of bouncing around different spots on the offensive line to kind of solidify his spot. He could definitely still be an option for that left tackle position. However, going into this game, I'm looking forward to seeing how well Josh Simmons is able to defend and protect whomever the quarterback may be, whether that is Patrick Mahomes, Gardner Minshew, or etc. Bailey Zappi. There is a lot of things riding on it. Can he defend against guys that he hasn't yet seen for multiple weeks in training camp? Is he going to be able to hold up his injury? Is there an obvious learning curve that's going to hinder him from being successful in the regular season? All of these things are things that I'm going to be looking on, and I think that the Chiefs Kingdom should be watching as well. Now, let me just say, I have no doubt in my mind that there is going to be Josh Simmons is going to be a star in the National Football League one day, should he stay on the trajectory that he is on. However, there are things working against him this season with the lack of experience and the injury. Obviously, that lack of experience will decrease as he gets the more experience. And however, that injury might just be a lingering thing for him. However, he's said that he has been able to rehab it every single day. He's not taking this injury lightly, and that he strives to be out there to be the best that he can for the Kansas City Chiefs. At the end of the day, he's a first round draft pick. He's got to be held to that standard. So he's the first guy that I'm going to be looking for having a great game. An honorable mention before we get to the second guy that is on my radar is going to be Ashton Gelati, the other half of that rookie rivalry. He's been looking good thus far in training camp. Head defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo says that he is very impressed with him. He's been able to hold his own. And Gelati is a guy that is a emerging talent that could very well find a role as a starter down the line of the season should things kind of go that way for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's another guy to keep your eye on the defensive end position. But making his podcast debut, I have yet to talk about him, and I promised you guys that I would. The Kansas City Chiefs' second third-round pick, Noel Williams, cornerback. We have yet to talk about him. I told you in the past that it's been hard to give a projection and all that about what he could do and couldn't do. However, Coach Spags, he has brought to the media's attention that Williams is kind of dealing with a transition period from the collegiate level to the professional level. And it makes sense. A guy at his position, he's got a lot of responsibility in being able to cover his opposition. But going into this game against the Arizona Cardinals, I'm looking for him to be a standout player to kind of not only build his own self-confidence, but also kind of give the internal confidence for the franchise, as well as those who are rooting on from him off the sideline. As well, it has to be said that, the Chiefs have a very good cornerback room. Adding to it with Noel Williams is going to prove or not prove if the Chiefs need to further address the issue down the line. For example, Trent McDuffie has yet to be signed to an extension. And while it could definitely still be in the works, should McDuffie go unsigned, you got to kind of lean on some of these draft picks that you got. If Noel Williams is struggling right now in making the transition from the collegiate level to the professional level, he's got to be closely monitored in order to maintain and kind of predict where the future of the franchise is going to go. And I think that the first preseason game against the Cardinals, his first team from the NFL that he's up against, I think it will show if he's a player who can be relied on or if he's going to have to take a step backwards. That being said, though, ladies and gentlemen, as I alluded to earlier, be sure you follow me on X at Dom Minchella. I post and repost every single day. You're not going to want to miss any coverage. It's completely free, and it covers everything from training camp, preseason, into the regular season. Every single day, we are always working. You can also follow us over at KC Chiefs on SI over on X, where all of our coverage gets posted. Once again, 100% free, exclusive to you. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'm Dominic Minchella. Be kind to one another, and I'll see you tomorrow.